You're watching the election countdown at 7 more days before the Presidential National Assembly elections in Nigeria. But for any presidential candidate to win elections in Nigeria, the Constitution says, in addition to majority votes, he or she must have a quarter and two-thirds of the state and the FCT. I'm joined now by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Usman, who will help us understand this section of the law better. Thank you for joining us on the countdown. Section 134 is our go-to on the show this hour. It states that in addition to majority of votes in an election, the candidate must also have not less than 25% in two-thirds of the state as well as the FCT. What do you think the framers of this section of the Constitution have in mind, and what does this process aim to achieve?
Thank you for having me this night. Section 134 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, provides thus, sub 1, that the candidate for the office of the president shall be deemed to have been elected where there are two candidates. A, he has majority of the vote cast at the election. So the first requirement to be declared as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is where there are two candidates, the person must have majority of the vote cast at the election. That is the first requirement. B, he must have at least 1/4 of the vote cast at each state and at least 2/3 of the 36 states and FCT. Meaning, that person must have at least 25% of the vote cast in each state, at least 24 states and FCT in Nigeria. So you must marry these two things together for you to be declared as a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where there are two candidates. You move from there, you go to sub 2, where there are more than two candidates. Number 1, to be declared as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the person must have at least the highest vote cast in that election. Then number 2, at least 2/3 of the vote cast in at least 24 states and FCT to be declared as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the assumption that you must have 2/3, people are confused about this issue of 2/3. It's not just 2/3. You must first have majority of the vote cast or highest number of vote cast as the first requirement. Then the second requirement is that you must have at least 1/4 of the election in each of the states, 24 states and FCT.
All right, so
to become the president of the Federal Republic.
Senior Advocate, that then brings us to the condition for a runoff election, because subsection 3 speaks to that, where the candidate who has the majority of vote defaults in the second condition, which is 2/3, then a runoff must now happen. But who are these two candidates who will now participate in the runoff?
Thank you very much. The candidate that must participate in the runoff are the two leading candidates. A candidate with majority of the lawful votes or the highest number of votes, and the candidate that comes second. Because the instances abound where the candidate will have majority of the lawful vote cast, but does not have 2/3 of the vote cast in at least 24 states and FCT. In such a situation, a runoff must be conducted by INEC within 7 days for the two leading candidates.
I want to call your attention to that subsection 3. A certifies that the first candidate will be the one who has the highest number of votes, highest number of lawful votes. That is true. It's now saying that the second candidate will now be one among of the remaining candidates who has a
that has the
majority of
highest number of
votes
votes.
in the highest number of states. And that's where I need some clarification. Does that mean that it's not just the majority of votes, but then the number of states where the majority of votes also come from?
By subsection 3B, the second candidate who is going to participate and partake in the rerun must be the one that has the highest number of votes in the states.
Okay.
So that is a distinction there. For you to participate in that rerun, you must be the one with the highest number of vote cast in each of these states in Nigeria. That will qualify you to be a partaker of the rerun.
All right. So let us go back memory lane. In 1979, the question arose as to what is 2/3 of 19 states. You recall that the Election Commission held then that it meant 12, and that was how Shehu Shagari of the NPN rather, emerged elected president. That was challenged by Obafemi Awolowo of the UPN. His main contention then was that 2/3 of 19 states is 13 and not 12. Of course, the numbers of states have now changed since 1979, and we've also have an electoral law updated over the years. But is this provision as simple as having not less than 25% in 24 states as at 2023?
Now, there is a thin line difference between now and what we had in 1979. Under Section 134, you must have majority of the vote cast, 2/3 of the vote cast in at least 24 states and FCT. The word used here is "and," which is conjunctive. So even if you have 24 states and you do not have FCT, you do not merit to be declared as a winner of the election, because the phrase used there is "and." 2/3 state and FCT. It means you must also win FCT to be added to the 2/3 of the states you have won to be declared as a winner of the election.
So that makes it more than 24 if we're counting.
Remember that FCT is not counted as a state.
Indeed.
But if you are to add FCT to it as a state, it means you have 25 states. But because FCT is not recognized as a state, it is 24 states and the FCT.
All right. So in 2023, senior advocate, elections, this particular election, many would say there are 4 major contenders. What, in your opinion, are the chances that the winner will emerge in the first ballot and that this election will not end up in a runoff?
Well, I don't want to be dragged into politics, but as a Nigerian, I have the right to air my view. And my view is I don't see the election going into a rerun. I think there will be an emergence of the president from the first election. There won't be second election. There won't be third election. As a matter of fact, under the Constitution, it's called the second election and not a runoff. There won't be second election. I strongly believe that a winner will emerge at a one-off election.
Interesting days ahead as we look forward to how this election will run, particularly now that the presidency is saying that there is no doubt that the 25th February date is sacrosanct, and of course that election will hold. We're looking forward to how that will run. A big thank you, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for joining us on the program. Thank you for also sharing your thoughts with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.